hosting today's session. I hope we are all doing good.
Sir?
Yes, we are
Yes, we are
fine.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have our guest on the call already. We're just waiting a bit for others to join so we can start. Okay, so we're starting right away. Thank you once again. I'm Alabita Kalsamalara and I'm one of the executives for Yali Network, Yali North Central region. And I welcome you all to another episode of Leadership Table. And our guest today is is a wonderful man. He's a wonderful fellow, and I'm very sure we're all looking forward to learn more from him today as well. I'll introduce Mr. Emediong Akpabio. He's already on the call. Mr. President, can you please let's see your face and introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is, can you hear me? Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
yes, we can hear you.
Thank you, Omolara. Thank you. My name is Emediong Akpabio. Of course, I am a Nigerian and also an alumni of the IRC Nigerian chapter.
Okay.
And also a one-time, I used to be the president, so I'm happy to share this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for honoring our invitation, and thank you for the privilege for our participants to get to know you more today. So, as we all know, Leadership Table is it's a session coming from the Yali North Central Region executives. It's a means for us to get to know the youths across the world, Yali fellows who are doing great and mighty things in their own corners, and to inspire other people coming up and looking up to them. So without wasting much time, I'll dive right into our questions for today. So to start with, sir, as a past Yali RLC Nigeria president, can you tell us some of your tenure's achievements and what values does being the president for Yali RLC Nigeria, what values does it add to your life?
Thank you so much, Omolara.
Thank you, sir.
So let me just start by appreciating the RLC North Central Nigeria Alumni Chapter for what you guys are doing. Thank you so much, Mayor Conley team. I really want to use this time to appreciate you and to say that I'm really, really happy to share this time with you. And to the question,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. I wish that I'll be able to, I hope that I'll be able to remember everything. So just to put things in context, in the right context for us to understand. But I would like to start by saying that I, by God's grace, led the 2020 RLC chapter. And on my team, we had 5 other executives, just like the whole system works for us in RLC. When you are the president, you are just supposed to coordinate how other things are done, not to superintend over them, just to try and, just put guidance on how things are done and all that. So we were a team of 5, and what we were able to do was that, unfortunately, to state, we were struck by the pandemic just at the start of our government. So we took a lot of time trying to adjust. This was a pandemic that came, people were shivering, people were scared of what it might become and all that. So we went off for about maybe 4 months, without any activity, The one thing that was consistent for us was the fact that we had a template from my predecessor, which was led by Aisha Boba, my friend. So with that template, we knew that it was possible for us to engage with people online. So we kept engaging with these people online by the series of events that we had, like the webinars, essentially. Basically, we had those webinars on different topics and all that. So one of the striking things that we feel that we have done and we want to count it as an achievement for that particular year was the fact that we were able to provide assistance to people who needed health some form of health assistance. So we did that by putting together a team of medical experts from the 4 regions, and then they were able to provide assistance to our members and people outside the alumni who needed urgent help. They could not make it to the facility of their choice due to lockdown. Do you understand? So that's one thing we did, and we called it
Yes.
yearly. We called it yearly phase aid projects. The idea of yearly phase aid projects was to be able to give assistance to these people, like I mentioned, this set of people, and then to be able to support the government in what they were doing as it way that time to help people overcome the fear and all of the things that came with the pandemic. And also one of the things we did was that we also tried to, as we know that if my predecessor runs a mental health unit, department, that kind of thing. So we also looked at a way of trying to get people to, move towards getting help whenever they felt that, they were not themselves and all that. So we did not exactly provide mental health assistance, but we tried to get people to understand that our predecessor, who is Aisha, that department had offered themselves to give help to whoever needed help. So everything, I just want to summarize, on the fact that was towards the pandemic than what it would have been if we did not have the pandemic. So yeah, basically that's what we're trying to do. And I think it
Wow,
came out
wow,
well.
that's a nice one. That's a big one. Thank you so much, sir, for that explanation. So my second question. In your journey so far, kindly tell us some of the challenges you faced and how they made you a better person. Some of the challenges you faced in life as an individual, as a yearly RLC fellow, as a yearly RLC Nigeria alumni president, and how has these challenges made you a better person, be a better version of yourself?
Okay. Thank you so much. Very good question. Yeah, so indeed, everybody passes through one form of challenges or the other. So myself, I'm not exempted from that kind of thing. So, and I can remember vividly that I have, or in the context of Yali, we had a lot of challenges. My administration had a lot of challenges. And in fact, when I tried to discuss with most of my very close friends, like that my administration came under very serious attack. We were like the most criticized, administration. People were like, no, you have not even seen anything, that kind of thing. So because I was new to the system of Yali, I was barely 4 years in Yali by the time I took on that office. But I felt like, this was not what I opted for and all that. So that really posed a lot of challenges, in the sense that when we're trying to go forward, you feel like some people are taking you backward and some people are just there to cause confusion, and things are just going somehow, not in a very zigzag manner. And it wasn't what I opted for. It wasn't what I would have wanted to see. But one of the things that came up as a very strong criticism was the fact that you said you wanted to be a leader. You said you're a leader. You said you wanted to lead. So be ready for this kind of things and all that. So at the end of the day, I just had to, bring myself together and like, you need to do this. This is what you signed up for. So you have to face this. But away from Yali, right? The other challenges I have faced in my personal journey and also in my professional journey has been, I want to call this kind of challenge, I don't know how to put it, but let me explain. So these kind of challenges come when you are trying to aspire for something. So for a person like me, I mean, I try to put down a lot of things on paper. I try to document my life. So my life is basically somehow on paper. And then every day you just wake up and like, you look at the drawing board and like, Emediong, you're supposed to do this, or you have this and by this timeline. And you discover that by the time you put those things to work, you don't always get the result as intended for you to use that result and move to other things. So these are the challenges that you try to push for something and the result is almost zero. It feels like you wasted all of your energy on that thing. You go here, nothing works, you go here. So sometimes you can be ambitiously heartbroken, that your life is, so what is happening with my life? So these are the challenges of back and forth kind of challenges. But at the same time, one of the things that is really constant that I have to say is that you know that life or success was not supposed to be a stroll. So every day I remind myself that you were not supposed to attain success by strolling. So you just have to fight for it. Yeah.
Wow, wow, I love that. I love that. You have to work hard for everything you want in life. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
that. So, my next question, quickly, as an individual, please tell us about a particular milestone you attained that you are really proud
Oh, okay. So yeah, as an individual,
of,
one
and
of the
why are you proud of
proudest.
this particular milestone?
Okay, fine. As an individual, one of the things that I would say I have really been particularly proud of as a person, I think 2019 was that year that was a boost year for me. 2019 came up as a very big year, big year in the sense that it was in 2019 that I was able to accomplish a lot of things that redefined the direction that I needed to take. So before this time, I was juggling between things. But in 2019, I was like, okay, this is what I need to focus on. So what happened in 2019? In 2019, I came across a petition, an open petition online that involved, it was supposed to be a social justice case involving one Emirati princess, from UAE and having some ties with Qatar and all that. So this doesn't sound like something I should take on. It doesn't sound like something, I mean, what's my business with UAE or Qatar? What's my business with these people? These are Arab countries, right? So, but then it's because of the context of the problem, which centered of human rights. I'm like, let me see what I can do. So I approached them. This was a celebrity problem. There's no way someone like me, who was just a starter, would have been able to pull in and say, I can help. But when I asked, I said to them that I would want to provide some help in my own capacity. They said, fine. What can you do? And I said to them that I can do everything about your problem. So I said, these are the information I need. They sent me the information. I studied the case and I'm like, okay, this is what I can handle. So I drew up a strategy that I felt it was best as at that time. I went into action. But in summary, it was a case of human rights, and I was able to mobilize thousands of support from across the world, different countries, everywhere. People came in on the substance of that petition. People provided help, and we were able to give victory at the Qatari courts, for my client, because at this time she became my client. We were able to get that victory. So I felt really proud of myself. By the time the Washington Post called me for interview, I rejected it, like, I don't want to be interviewed. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? They said, no, we need to interview. How did you do it? That kind of a thing. So I decided to give them time, and I was interviewed by the Washington Post. Before this time, I didn't know that they were media, outlets. But when I saw my name on paper, saw my name on news headlines, saw my name here, I was really, really, really proud of myself. Then that same 2019, I went into a competition, Open Government Social Impact Challenge, which was organized by Civic Hype and Open Gov Hub in the United States. But it was here in Nigeria with support from Budget T. When I went into that competition, I didn't know what exactly I was looking for, but because I was just pushed to, try something. And I found myself coming up as the first runners up in that competition. So that gave me a lot of encouragement, a lot of boost to really push on. And that's 2019. What else happened? But I know that there were like 3 milestones that happened in that same 2019 that really made me really, really, really proud of myself till today.
Wow, wow. We should give you a round of applause for that. We should give you a round of applause for that. Thank you for sharing those wonderful experiences with us. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. So, as an activist, you are advocating for gender equality and human rights, amongst others. Can you tell us what
Absolutely.
sparked your interest in such activities?
Okay, can I tell you what?
Yes, sir. I said, can you tell us what sparked your interest to take on such activities,
Okay,
advocating for gender equality, human rights, child rights,
okay.
and all?
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for asking that question. People just keep asking this question because we find ourselves in a world where um, everybody is just trying to be active in the social space with one kind of problem or the other. But why is my own passion different? My own passion is different because of the environment I grew up from. I have said this before in passive with, I think with Yali, with some group of people in Yali, that I grew up I have never had soft landing, never. I've always been treated in a very violent manner. I grew up in a violent environment. My secondary school, as far as I can remember, was terribly violent, terribly violent. I got into university, everywhere was just so. I have seen, violence in a very small scale. Even if it's not killing somebody or shooting gun, but then you just find some people that looks like the elites trying to suppress the other set of people that. So I feel very uncomfortable. Like, why are people behaving? Are we not humans? Don't we have equal rights and all that? So trying to inquire to understand, don't we have equal rights? Are we not supposed to have this kind of opportunity, these privileges, and why are some people having certain kind of privileges than the other people? That spurred my passion. Before this time, I never knew. I have never seen anybody. I never really understood. I wasn't in the social space, so I did not know. So that really pushed me to making more studies, within that ecosystem of rights and social justice. And I found out that the bigger problem isn't the human rights, which is the umbrella problem of rights problem, which is like the big problem. But the focus problem is that even while we feel that we are all victims of human rights, women are the most sufferers. So when I found that if me as a man who can challenge, I'm physically able to shout, intellectually, endowed to challenge, can feel this way, what happens to women who do not even have that capacity? What now happens to women who don't even have education? So looking at this kind of disaggregated data, I was like, no, 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 no. That in this human rights struggle, I was going to place my focus on gender equality. Don't also forget that the concept around gender equality has been misinterpreted, has been misconstrued. So, two things. I went into this to try and put, you know, gender equality in the right perspective with the information that I have been able to get, and also to get a lot of women, to be on the front line in terms of political engagement, in terms of leadership, in terms of every other thing you could think about that would represent equity, right? And most importantly, to protect children, because I am working on an article close to finishing that says that gender equality or gender abuse does not really affect women as much as children. So when we are talking about gender equality, children are the ones who are going to suffer in the long run. So why are we fighting? Why am I fighting? Why am I interested? I'm interested in gender equality because of what is going to happen to children if women are not protected in the social space.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for that. Allow me to pry a little. You mentioned something about growing up in a violent environment. Let's take a look back. We will have lots. I'm very sure you have friends that you grew up in the same environment, in this same violent environment.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say growing up in such an environment has impacted you? How has it impacted your life as a person? Growing up from such an environment and having to go through all these things you went through as a young boy in secondary school and all. How has all these experiences impacted your life?
Well, these experiences have helped because it makes me a more tougher person. It makes me an ambitious person. The impetus it has generated for me is what is really driving my passion right now. It has also influenced me in a way that I'm not vulnerable to social influence. So when you talk about things like peer pressure, like low self-esteem, like no, it doesn't, because this experience had already shaped me. had already molded me into the person I needed to be. So that if I see these kind of things begin to happen now, I'm like, oh, okay, babe, we've been here before. So that's one real big way, these experiences have shaped my values and all that.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So, again, how can one avoid being a victim of human rights violation? How can we avoid being a victim?
Yeah, we can avoid being a victim of human rights violation in many ways, which I'm just going to state a few of them. So principally, we are people who, so for somebody who abides by the law, we are people who um, are patriotic. We would not find ourselves in any danger of human rights abuse. No, you won't find yourself. But also, let's not also forget the fact that in Nigeria, we have people who are very patriotic and are still victims of human rights abuse. So you cannot now say that those people didn't play their part, right? You can't now say that. So we might not be able to totally avoid being victims of human rights abuse in the context of Nigeria. We might not be able to avoid it. Maybe in other contexts, we might be able to, but in the context of this country, no, it's somehow impossible. But what can we do is the question. What we can do is, for every time we are victims of these human rights abuses, there are channels to which we can, we can, should I use the word fight back? There are channels that we can report. There are channels to which we can seek justice. There are channels to which we can actually be indemnified if we feel that we have been abused. So to answer your question, we might not totally be able to avoid in Nigeria. We cannot say, but we can always be compensated for every form of abuse we find ourselves.
Okay, so I actually want to ask this question personally as a person. So, do you think we have, if, as Nigerians now, let's use the Nigerian context, as Nigerians, do you think we have equal opportunity at exercising our human rights as a person?
Yeah, as a Nigerian, no, we do not have equal opportunity. And are we going to have that? Maybe, maybe. But as a Nigerian, we don't have, because the system is the problem. So let's not get this discussion into talking about Nigeria and how the system has really failed and how the system has really abated human rights abuses, violation everywhere. No, because we are not going to finish. But the system has really failed. And I think your hope should be on Jesus, because I'm not sure that we should hope on the system that is supposed to give you justice if you feel abused at any time in this country.
Thank you so much for that, sir. So my next question is, what does it require to be an advocate for gender equality, human rights, and child rights, amongst others? What does it require? Like, if I want to go into that field, do I need to have any special experience or any special training to be one?
Yeah, so I'm just going to say two things from your question. Number one is that passion is really important, but passion is not enough. One of the things passion would do is that from passion, you can find purpose. And this is where a lot of people don't get it right, that they go for purpose and then try to extract passion. So things are just clumsy for them. If you want to go into this area of child protection, gender right, it starts with passion. So what do you feel? What burdens you? What that thing that puts a burden on your mind? Once you identify what puts a burden on your mind and perhaps takes sleep away from you in some extreme cases, right? Takes sleep away from you. You can now know that, okay, this is what I feel I can change. Once you know that this is the area you need to change, or you feel you can cause a change, what you need to do is to do studies on that space, around that space. So what's the problem? What are the challenges? What are the drivers, of this problem, of this and that? So once you see the drivers, you now look at the intersections of those courses. Intersections, for example, in case of human rights, the intersections could be like something like, we can even say that education can be an intersection to human rights, abuse, because a situation where you don't know your education, you don't know what's happening with yourself, you don't know how to defend yourself, you don't know how to put courses together, you can fall a victim. So education is an intersection to human rights abuse, right? So once you find drivers in the intersections and all that, you can now say that you want to go into this space. When you now launch into this space, you have to learn horizontally and vertically. Horizontally, because you want to progress in that space. Vertically, because you are learning from your environment, you are learning from people who have already been operating in that space, and from other things that have been made available, like studies, like program, like courses, like, so just these things that would put you in a position where you can be able to present yourself, make valid judgments, and then present a submission that can stay up a debate that leads to a very positive outcome.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir, Mr. President. Thank you for sharing your passion and for educating us on gender violence, on gender equality and child rights. So, sir,
Absolutely.
for participants who may be interested in pursuing a career in foreign affairs and diplomacy, what advice would you give to them as regards that?
Oh, well, um, so myself, I used to call myself an aspiring diplomat because everything I do revolves around diplomacy, and have just found myself in that space engaging, and I just kept on engaging, and I'm still doing that. Um, but I will tell you one of the things a diplomat, a practicing diplomat said to me, who is in Nigeria from another country, said to me that I know that to do diplomacy in your country is very difficult, but you have to try, you have to try, you have to try. So you have to ask yourself, for somebody who wants to start a career in diplomacy, why do you want to be a diplomat? Why do you want to be an envoy? What are you looking at? Mind you, for you to be an envoy, a diplomat, you need to look beyond the shores of this country, beginning to understand what happens, bilaterally, you and other countries and the other countries. So you look at this system, the bilateral system, and how the problem exists, the multilateral system and how the problem exists. Also, the solution that comes with that. So you study why it can be a very, can really take your breath sometimes, yeah. Because I mean, if you were operating within Nigeria alone, you will not be doing much. But right now, you're looking at Nigeria, South Africa, West Africa, this one, that one, that. So it involves a lot of study, and it's possible to start by starting. By starting, you just have to pick an area of diplomacy, trade, economics, politics, human rights, children, that. So you just decide on the area you want to focus on and start doing everything boils down to study. So you discover that out of 10 things I have said, I just kept saying study, 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 because you have to be open-minded. Your mind just have to be open. No information is a waste. And this is, at this point of my life, is when I really realized that nothing is a waste. So open my mind to totally everything. You say this one, I take. You say that one, I take. Somehow, it's going to come back and join itself. So whoever is interested in working in that space should begin to do study around what he wants to understand, or she wants to understand, and begin to expand out. So expanding out is the key word.
Okay, thank you so much. Expanding out is the keyword. So anybody who is interested in foreign affairs and policy and diplomacy, sorry, expand out, search for what you are really interested in and build on that. So,
Exactly.
sir, as of today, our
Yeah.
society is facing challenges of complex social, cultural, and economic problems.
Mm.
So do you think these problems can be solved? And if yes, how can we all participate in solving them?
Yeah. These problems can be solved. I mean, there's no problem that cannot be solved. So it would be wrong for me to say that, it would be a fallacy for me to say that we cannot solve. No matter how complex it might look, it has a solution. It has a solution. So for how we can be a part of the solution, it's very simple. I can't remember, I think 2 years ago, because I am on camera, so I might not really be precise. The UN came up with a system where problems could be solved from the most simplest form. They came up with this system of, I think they called it, the way they tagged it, they called it little by little. Yeah, so it was a sustainable development solution where they said little by little, you should start picking the problems in your environment. So when you think of a problem as existing in a larger form, in a big form, in a macro form, your brain, it can blow your brain sometimes. It feels like your brain will scatter, right? But when you look at a complex problem from a simplistic perspective, it's easy for you to pick that problem as it exists, as it appears. For example, I'll give you an example. Climate change today, we are talking about climate change. Everybody's talking about climate change, climate change. We have actors, if we have players in that space, right? Trying to provide solution here and there. And we have the bigger players who are at the policy level trying to come up with policies that can help government adjust and also incorporate, it into their recovery plan and all that. Those are the big players at that level. But what can you and I do? You coming with the formula of little by little. We can start by putting off the lights in the house. If we are not using it, we can start by we can decide not to be flying with aeroplanes and start using canoes where we have places where we have abundant water area. We can decide to use organic things, for our kitchen, for our food making and all that, very organic than the frying and all of that. So I don't have those examples readily on my mind, but those are just the very little things we can start from. The little of the things can actually help us, overcome these challenges. Imagine if 2 million people are doing the little things, 2 million people are doing the little things. So you know that it can actually go a long way, and then we'll be able to find ourselves overcome these complex, in quotes, problems.
Wow. One thing I would like to comment on about on what you just said is not flying aeroplanes and
Yes.
traveling by canoes.
Yes.
Do you think our leaders can actually work with that?
Oh,
How many of them can actually not fly aeroplanes and travel by canoes?
you see, we might not be able to, it's quite funny. It's funny. So, but you see, I don't know whether you know about this girl, this climate change activist, Greta, that has been on the forefront of climate change and all of that. There was a time she was supposed to move around Europe. She refused to go by plane. I think she wanted to move from Sweden to a particular country. She decided to use water. She went on the waterways. It took her some time, but because she's an activist, she needed to lead by example. And she has been trying to say that unnecessary travel, if going to UK today for medical treatment, flying here, and if travels are not important, please stay one place. And that is why this lockdown was important. The pandemic, that came with the lockdown was important to reassess the level of damage that human engagement on land had contributed to the climate change crisis. So that's just a glimpse of how we can use our action to influence this climate change problem in a very positive manner.
Oh well, hopefully we'll get there one day. We're on it, so hopefully we'll get there one day. As a nation, as a person, as an individual, hopefully we'll get there one day. So this next question, I'm actually interested in it. Interested because I'm a woman. So, online violence against women seems to be another area of interest for you. You are interested in online violence. So while it is alien to some people, so please give us some instances of such violence and how you think we can solve it as a person. Like what sort of situations can we term as violence for a person, especially for a woman?
Mm, 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 Thank you so much. Very important question. So, online violence against women is part of my primary focus. And I'm going to state all the variables and facts that are on ground. Now, don't mind how the name looks big. So remove the word online and replace it with, or internet violence, and replace it with online. Okay, like it's rarely done. So when you consider the word online, you ask yourself, as you are online right now, you are bound to meet a lot of people. You meet people every day, and right now so there's more social association, there's more social cohesion online than physically with this whole problem that we're having now. And people are bound to stalk. People are bound to people are bound to be aggressive. People are bound to do all manner of things because they feel like as far as we are online, there are no regulations. Nobody's looking at us. So they feel like it's a private avenue for me to do whatever thing I would like to do. And so you don't want to hear the numbers of women that have been subjected to cyber stalking, have been subjected to attacks online, have been subjected to, porn games and porn attacks. A lot of things. I don't want to go. There are a lot. I'll give you an example. I did a case study on 3 women. The first woman was a US congresswoman from the Democrats Party who happened to contest for an election and won a seat. Now, in her district, that seat was highly contended for. So she just managed to get that seat. And because it was the Republican that had always been occupying that very seat. But this time around, Katie Hill is her name. You can check her out. She happened to win and she occupied that seat. But as a build-up to that election that she won, she had an affair with a staffer, a campaign staffer, right? Now, when you get into the house has rules. The Congress House has their own rules. But she already had an affair with a campaign staffer. Maybe this staffer had been with her for a long time, and she didn't know that she was going to contest for have interest in politics and get to the Congress seat, right? Do you know that by the time she won and occupied the seat, it was the Republicans that came up against her with an attack of the fact that she had sex with her staffer, and going by the House rules, she cannot occupy that seat. It was a big problem. People started shouting, and they came against her. It was so much on her. She did what? She resigned. That is a congresswoman. I have another friend who at a time worked with the EU, Judy Kele, and she's from Burundi. She found her pictures, her nude pictures online. People coming against her and calling on the EU to fire her, to take her out of office. Now, that was supposed to put her in a situation where so she's at the mercy of a lot of people trying to say, oh no, I didn't do this, can you guys forgive me, all of that. But she came up the other way to say that, look, you guys have just abused me. I have rights to do whatever thing I want to do in private. And so this issue of online violence states clearly that women have every right, and I'm saying it on this camera, to do whatever thing they want to do in private. They have that right to enjoy their private moment. And whoever goes against them on the basis of having a privileged information to how they enjoy this right, the person is supposed to face the law, not the woman. So we have made women victims of online abuse by abating the people who are the violators than the woman who is supposed to be treated as a victim. So that's the reverse of this case. And that's exactly why I am working and we are working people in that space to change it, to say that stop this violence against women. Violence against women is a new form of attack on women, and it is intended to shut them up, shut them out of civic spaces, and keep them in abeyance. So this is exactly why we are fighting and doing what we are doing.
Thank you so much. I so much love your response. Women on the call, are you there? Please give yourself a round of applause. If you're a woman on this call, please unmute yourself and just say thank you to Mr. Akpabio for this wonderful, wonderful reply. Please, just 1 minute. Women,
Thank
females,
you
are you
so
here?
much, Mr. Akpabio, for
Thank you
this.
so
These are really
much.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Akpabio, for that wonderful explanation. So females, now we know we have our rights as a woman. As a woman, you have your rights to protect yourself, to enjoy yourself to the fullest, to enjoy yourself, enjoy your private moments without any fear.
Absolutely.
So anybody that
Absolutely.
goes as much as you can, anybody that's trying to bully you with that, please, Mr. Akpabio is here. I'm his PA. You can always talk to me. I'll link you
Absolutely.
up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Mr. Akpabio. So I still have 2 more questions. After these questions, we'll take a few questions from our participants. Anybody who may have a question to ask. So looking back in your life, sir, what are the things you wished you have done more? And what are the things you wish you avoided totally? Like, I wish I've never done this, or I wish I do more of these things I did back then.
Looking back at my life, I just wish I left this country. I had my first study, my BSc study in the UK.
I want to live with you too, if you are still living.
Yeah, I just wish I had, because the kind of education I got from this country, I mean, so this is another thing. And I don't know whose interest is in education here. When I had my NYC, when they gave me my NYC, I turned my NYC backward in protest to say that education in this country has to be revamped, has to be overhauled. So I'm one of those persons that are not proud of the education that we receive in this country. You know, they said the NYC we're going to withdraw I said, no problem, they can withdraw it. It doesn't make sense. So I feel like I should have, or I would have gone outside for a better study. And that would have given me some perspective, a lot more perspective to what I'm doing now. And by now I would have really found myself where, by God's will, I think I would have found myself where I needed to be. But be that as it may, one thing I look forward to doing when I have that opportunity is to be able to get to a place where I can influence policies that directly affects children, youth, women. Those 3 people are my targets, target people to helping them overcome the challenges they are facing in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally.
Thank you so much for that. We are special breeds. We are special breeds, and
Absolutely.
I am glad you recognize that, and you're working on policies to help make living more easier for women across
Absolutely.
the world, in Nigeria and globally. So we've been chatting with Mr. Akpabio, and he was the past president for Yali RLC Nigeria 2020, and it's mind-blowing. I can resonate with all of his explanations and experiences. And on the last note, sir, we would like to have access to your social media platforms. Can you share your contacts with us? Probably your WhatsApp number, your phone number, your social media links. We have participants who may be willing to reach out to you for one reason or the other. So you can just drop in the chat box as well for people to copy. And if you also have any question for Mr. Akpabio, please can you raise your hand so we can quickly go through that before we round up on today's episode of Leadership Table. If you have any question, please let's see your hands up so we can go through that as he drops his contacts in the chat box for us. Okay, I can see one, and IK Nkele, please can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? IK,
All right. Good
please go
evening,
ahead
Lisa.
with your question.
Good evening.
Good evening, bro. Good evening.
All
Hello,
right.
IK, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Please go ahead. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay. All right.
Please go
Thank
ahead.
you
We
so
can
much.
hear you.
Okay. My name is Ike Chukunkele Yali Abia.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Yes. So I want to appreciate the speaker for such words and insights he has dished out this afternoon. Then my question is, if we have people like you in this country, how can we make the desired change? How can we implement these changes that you've outlined? How can we make Nigeria a better place without everyone running away from this country? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question, and it's really important. So, one of the ways to make changes by having people like myself is, and I'm going to tell you what my mentor told me. So he said that young people should not stop speaking the truth. We should not stop demanding for what we know is our basic rights. Do not stop. Do not stop. We have to keep doing, we have to keep, they might not listen. But look, guys, we have come to an age where social media is there to amplify our voice. That's why you have social media. Yes, the government has banned Twitter. They cannot ban your voice. Which other channel do we have? Go on those channels and continue demanding, asking that this is the right thing, and insist that this is what you need to be done. Because the problem is, we have few people that are doing this work, and the rest are just aggregators supporting government after getting 5 kobo and all that. So, but we need a lot of people. We need to recruit a lot of people on this other side, so that we can have that number to be able to get them to listen to us and act just as we want. So just that's just the simple way we can effect the change we need. We sincerely desire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. You are here to drop your contacts for our participants. And any other questions from anybody else, please? If you cannot put on your video, you can also drop your questions in the chat box before we round up. I have like just 2 minutes more. Any other questions from anybody else before we move to our breakout rooms? Mr. Waid Ilori, are you trying to ask a question? Mr. Waid Ilori, are you trying to ask a question, please? I can see you wrote please in the chat box. Okay, in the absence of any other question, I would like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Akpabio for honoring our invitation and for coming on today to share your experiences and your stories with us and our participants.
Sorry, ma. Please, I've been trying to.
Okay, Mr. Waid, please go ahead.
I have a network issue here. That's just. So my question goes to Mr. Akpabio. You have really spoke well, and I was amazed. And concerning what you said the other time, that one of the things that you would not have loved, or if I can pick you well, that studying in Nigeria has been something that you don't like during your schooling. I think you are right, but the other speaker said that we should think of a way to solve the problem. So that's it. Let's be realistic here, as we have said, and we should speak the truth as we have said. Everybody cannot travel out of this country.
Absolutely.
Travel out, even though you will try from heaven to earth. And with the way the things are going out there, look at the, what's it called? Is it, how will I call it? Is it not New Dubai, the way they are treating us? Yeah. Either we like it or not, and the way other countries are treating Nigerians. So we should think of a way to make Nigeria better. I think that's the way forward.
Absolutely.
We should just think of a way to make Nigeria better. If we all our youth there outside there in diaspora, in different parts of the world, they are not finding it easy. Let's be fair with ourselves. They are not finding it easy. Many people are just running out of the country because of the unease we are facing in this country and the challenges here and there. I think we should just think of a way to solve the problem. As I said, just you guys that have the, let me call it, the highlight of this country, that no more than us here now. We should just think of a way to help us strategize. Maybe we should go on board and think what are the way out. If you have seen that education is the problem, then let's think of a way to solve it. That's just the simple truth. as you have said, what I gain from you, little by little, everybody should contribute this one quota, this one arena or terrain
Sure.
by little
Sure.
to address this problem. That's just my own little input from here. Traveling out
Thank you.
does not solve the problem because we are also part of the problem by traveling out. That we run away from the problem. That's just my own little input.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Mr. White
Okay.
Ilori, for that wonderful contribution. Thank you so
Mm.
much. Like you've said, if we all come together and work together, these are things we can solve ourselves. When we amplify our voices, we get things done. So, Mr. Emmanuel Ohanwe, I don't know if I pronounce that correctly. Please go ahead with your question, sir. Mr. Emmanuel, please.
Okay, right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good
Can
afternoon.
you hear me? Yes, yes, yes. So my
Yes,
name
we
is
can hear you.
Emmanuel. Yeah, clearly. So what I want to just make is a little bit of contribution. I like what the other speaker said, that traveling out is not the solution, and I buy into that idea. The truth is, when we keep traveling out,
Answer.
we're encouraging brain drain. When we keep traveling out, what we're trying to do is that we're depressing the human capital of our dear country and improving the human capital of other countries. And that is why other countries will have lofty scholarship programs to attract the best of talents, the best of talents, into the country, because it is a contest of who has more human capital. So we keep depressing our human capital as a nation. So one thing I want to advise is, as young people, in our little ways, the problem is very cumbersome. As a Nigerian, I wake up daily to news and I sober. In fact, we've gotten to a point where we've learned to live. We've learned to live in our own, in our own trouble. Like we found peace living with the problem. So we'll keep shouting and shouting. We've shouted, and now what we're not doing now is just to accept it that this is our fate. We've accepted the challenges as our fate. But I just want to encourage every young person here, because conferences of this kind, what they do is that they stimulate us to go back and, in our own little ways, impact our community. So what I want to encourage everybody here is to just keep doing what you know how to do best in your different sector. We can't use politics alone to solve the problem. We can solve the problem from every angle. From the entertainment industry, you are driving change. From the agricultural sector, you are driving change. From the health sector, you are driving change. Educational sector, which is very important, we are driving change. The kind of education that will liberate our mind. An education where we can have an independent thought on our own. I can stand to say I'm educated. I'm voting this person not because my pastor said I should vote him, not because my imam said I should vote him, but because on the strength of my intellectual capacity, I've assessed this person and said this person is fit for this position. So I just want to encourage everyone, just keep doing what you know how to do. Let us not lose faith in this country. Things are going very bad. There is every reason for you to regret ever being, a national of this country. But I want to encourage everybody. Let's just keep building. And thank you so much, LRLC, for putting up a program like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel. Thank you for that wonderful contributions. And I wish we can go on and on and on, but our time is fast spent. So on this note, I would like to say a very big thank you to our guests today. Thank you for coming and sharing your passion and your stories and your experiences with us. And you know how we do it every week. We'll round up and everybody can move on to the breakout rooms to network with other youths and share stories, share your experiences, and let's get to know each other more, and let's come up with ways we can work together as a body, as individuals, to make our country a better place for everyone to live in. Thank you, Mr. Akpabio, once again. On behalf of Yali RLC North Central Executive, headed by Mr. Mayokun Adeoti, we're saying a very big thank you to you. So to finalize, I don't know if you have anything to say to round up, sir.
Oh yeah, my people have just said, I mean, the last speakers that spoke, two speakers that spoke, to say that leaving the country isn't the solution. It is not the solution. It will never be the solution. So yeah, we need to just sit our ass right down in this country and look at the way forward, because like the last person said, human capital has really reduced because of these drifts. So we need to look at other ways we can influence policies. We need to look at other ways we can get things to really work. Just like he said, politics isn't the only platform, the avenue. Yes, Other ways we have entertainment, we have, so whichever space you find yourself, please, you need to really, really lead by example. There's no time for mediocrity. We need to lead by example and see what happens from there.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody, for joining this call this evening. On behalf of the Yali North Central coordinator, Mr. Mayo Kwadioti, I'm saying a very big thank you to everybody. So our breakout rooms will be live now, and we can all move on to join our different breakout rooms and network with other youths on the call. Thank you, everybody, as we do so.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Sir.